This is another example by one of my favorite artists, J.C. Landecker. I mean, we have introduced him before, but now I want to go a little bit further to discuss how he used the shapes. So on the left is a study he did. On the right is my addition of his image. So let's take a look at the difference. So if you see the first image and then you take a look at the second image, you'll find the second one looks way messier than the first one. And the reason for that to happen is because all the shapes he did was pretty good and well designed. But in the second edition, I kind of break his outlines. So how did that happen? Let's take a look at this part at first. So let's take a look at it as a big shape at first. So the character's face is actually really spiky. It has very complex shape. But the other side, which is the back of the head, is fairly smooth. I mean, it has some minor changes, but generally speaking, it's way smoother than the other side. And in my image, let's say if the character actually has more hair and it sticks out, well, it will definitely break the shape because now we have one side as very complex shape and the other side as complex shape too. So that's why it feels sloppy and messy. Now let's look at the sleeve. So in his sleeve, you can see this is one really complex edge. It has like multiple folds, all on the same side. The other side, even though it has folds, he kind of make it as a straight line. And it's basically long lines and they're really clean. And in my edition, I kind of emphasized it. So if you take a look at it here, you see this bump and you see this bump. And because both sides of the sleeves actually has bumps right now, it actually breaks the rhythm and the clean edge of the shape. Also take a look at it right here. So if I make a bump right here, it will actually break the clean edge and make the negative shape in the middle look messy. Right here, you will feel like this shape is much smoother because it has a clean edge. And on the other sleeve, it's actually the same. So if you take a look at his stuff, this side is super smooth, right? It's basically just two lines. And this side is a lot more complex. He shows all the folds right here. It doesn't really matter how strong the folds it is on the other side, as long as he's keeping one side clean, the other side he can just let it go. However, if he's adding a lot more detail on the clean side, the entire sleeve is going to become so much messier. Now, let's move to the next part. So if you take a look at my artwork, you'll feel like I'm actually also following those orders. So for example, if you take a look at the druid piece right here, and you connect the outline, you'll find that when I'm painting the leaves, I'm actually following a frame right here. So you can clearly see the shape. There are like some parts sticking out, but I kept that in a really minor level, so it won't feel too weird. And for the hair, it's the same. I mean, even though it's flowing to one side with the wind, you can still feel like there is a frame around it. And if I decide to make, for example, like one side a little bit more messy, the other side will be clean. I usually won't make two sides like too messy. If you take a look the head as a general shape, as a big shape, you'll find that, for example, like this part of the face is really messy, but this part is fairly clean compared to the front side of the face. And for this one, it's the same. If you take a look at the silhouette, you'll find that, for example, like this side of the shape, it's a lot messier, but this side is super clean. And also, it doesn't matter like how I break the cape, it's always following a frame of triangle. So you guys will still feel like the shape is very organized. Now, the next section. This is actually a little bit related to the design, but I feel like it's also fairly important when we are trying to design shapes for character art, even just for painting. Because it doesn't matter when you are doing illustration or design, some common knowledge actually is the same. For example, like large, medium, and small shapes. So if we make all the shapes the same, right? If we make like three large shapes together, well, there won't be focal point. There won't be shape contrast. But if we are doing large, medium, and small, it's going to be way less boring. I believe like many of you already know that. But I want to go a little bit further of it. So you see two images right here. So it almost looks like three large shapes right here. And the other one, well, you can definitely see the large, medium, and small shape. So it has a lot more rhythm. It has the focal point, and it has a main subject. But this one, you kind of lose the focus. And also in this one, you feel like it's a square. You can't really tell what shape language you're using. Is it a square or triangle or maybe a sphere? You can't tell. And this is a little bit more about my preference. So those two images are both large, medium, and small shapes. But there are like some difference. So the first one, it has large, medium, and small, but the medium and small shapes are fairly large. So when you are painting it, when you put them together, it will more easily, more likely to become the first kind of shape if you are not experienced enough. The ratio of the medium shape is too large. But on the right, what I would like to do is I would like to make the medium shape smaller as the small shape. And then I'm gonna make the small shape even smaller as the smaller shape. So for me, when I'm trying to design the shape, I don't really do large, medium, and small. Instead, I do large, small, and smaller. So I can create more contrast with the shape. And this is how it happens in my art. So if you take a look at this art, even though it's a simple design, you still don't feel like it's boring. And that's because I designed the shape really carefully. So if you take a look at this, I have the large shape right here, and I have the medium shape as the upper body. So look how small this area is compared to this dress underneath. And then I have the head as a small shape. So the small shape compared to the dress right here, it's probably like only like 1/8 of the area. And also you can see that this way. And also maybe you can see this image with a local color. So if you separate the shape with local color, you can see the entire black shape as the large shape. And you can see the white shape as the medium shape. And the gold shape and the skin as the small shape. So notice like how much area those shape is controlling. So that's how I create the contrast with large, medium, and small shape. Also, I want you guys to take a look at the pattern design right here. So for example, this is a pattern design on the dress. If you see the entire dress as a large shape, you'll see that the pattern is actually a middle shape. But the middle shape is really small compared to the large shape. It's only containing a small area. It's not like half of the dress has been painted with the same pattern. And in the middle shape, the small shape, which is a dot right here, is really small, but it's effective in terms of adding detail. So even though the shape is really simple, since it's well arranged, you won't feel like it's a boring dress overall. And also, I choose to put the most detailed and delicate shape on the focal point. So you will automatically pay more attention and see the most amount of detail on the focal point, which is the face, the shoulder, and the belt. I mean, you can generally see the face and the shoulder as a whole since they are so close to each other. And this is the primary focal point. This is the secondary one. And in this painting, this is another example that I'm using large, medium, and small shape. So as you can see, the entire purple area can be seen as a large shape. And this part, which is light yellow, you can see that as a middle shape. And if you take a look at the face, which is a really small part compared to the other part of the body, you can see it's the small shape. You can treat it as a small shape. And also pay attention to how I arrange the detail. So in the large shape, which is containing maybe like 80% of the design, I barely put any details here. I only use the texture to fill the space. And for the medium shape, I kind of put like a little bit more details here, but it's still pattern. It's still meant to fill out the space. I put the most important design and the most refined stuff on the focal point. And I created a lot of small shapes right here. And the focal point itself works as a small shape. So in conclusion, it is actually the same with the last one, that I always put the most detail, which is a small shape, in the focal point. So in conclusion, which is the same with the last image right here, that I always put the most important detail and most delicate shape around the focal point. So the details can be applied efficiently, that I don't need to design small shapes all over the canvas. I only need it at the most important part.